So you're thinking about moving to Boise, Idaho, and you know that the biggest decision you can make is where specifically are you going to live. I want to make sure that you pick one of the best neighborhoods possible. That way you have no regrets down the line. In this video, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to go through 5 of my favorite neighborhoods in Boise, Idaho, talk a little bit about what makes them special, and see what might be right for you. What's up guys, I'm Chase Dolan, your Boise realtor, and in this video we're going to talk all about Boise, Idaho and 5 of the best neighborhoods that I think you should take a look at. One of the best parts about living in Boise, Idaho is there are all sorts of different boroughs, neighborhoods. There's a really diverse set of the types of communities and the types of homes. Depending on what you're looking for, you'll be able to find something in Boise. So even though we're only going to talk about 5 today, you're going to see that we're going to be all over the city of Boise, and you're really going to see some differences between the first one and the last one that we talk about. And to dive right in, we're going to start with number 1. We're going to talk about Dry Creek Ranch. So Dry Creek Ranch is going to be in North Boise. It's going to be a little bit out of town. You're actually going to take Highway 55 up kind of around the first little set of foothills. You can also kind of hit it going through Hidden Springs, which we're going to talk about here in a second, but it's actually on that border of Eagle and Boise. Dry Creek Ranch is a Boise Hunter Homes community, and it has been being developed for years now. They finally have the majority of the main neighborhood done. They start on the estates, which are these acreage lots that we're going to talk about. They're going up into the hills, and they're going to be a last couple of phases that are going to stretch out for another couple of years. So there's going to be opportunities, but Dry Creek Ranch is now a very well established community. The vision behind everything Dry Creek Ranch was to give you a little bit of that rural community feel, give you the nature, give you the community farm, the horse stables, but in close proximity to town and in a luxury neighborhood. So Dry Creek Ranch has a ton of great amenities. They already have a community pool. They have a ton of walking paths, open green spaces to play on. You're actually going to have a professional horse arena and stables located in the neighborhood, as well as a community farm that living in the neighborhood, you can actually access and get some of your produce from. That is also going to have a full-time professional farm manager kind of overseeing everything. And of course, you are right in the middle of the foothills, so you're going to have so much access to all of the trail systems, all of the nature that Boise and the foothills have to offer. And then one of the next steps in the development is they actually have this massive new clubhouse project coming. So this is going to add a bigger gathering space. You're going to have that clubhouse. You're going to have a community pool. There is so much coming. It's going to be a really, really cool project that's just going to take Dry Creek Ranch up to that next level. Overall, Dry Creek Ranch is going to have around 1,800 home sites once everything's kind of finalized and done. So this is going to be a really, really large community. They broke it up into a few different phases. So there's this main portion of Dry Creek Ranch, which is basically already wrapped up. That also included the creek side because they have Dry Creek running through the neighborhood. Right now, the 2 things that are still available and still being built out, the homes in the estates are going to be really large, luxury, custom builds. You're going to be, again, on that acre or bigger lot. These are going to run you a little bit higher than the majority of the neighborhood. You're probably going to be in that 1.5 million range on the low end. So things are just going to continue to go up from there. But this is a very niche product. We don't typically find in a well-established master plan community like this an opportunity to have acreage, a luxury home, and a big home by a really good builder. Now, on the other end, right now they're building up into the foothills. So this is going to be the hills at Dry Creek Ranch. This is where the majority of the rest of the development is going to take place. Over on this side, you're going to have a little bit more of that traditional size lot. They're still really good size lots because Boise Hunter Homes has really large floor plans. So they really do like to have you have a little bit more space from your neighbors. You're going to be in the hills a little bit, so you're going to be more scaffolded. Some homes are going to have really good views, others are going to be really private. And the builder actually created a set of floor plans for just the hills specifically to really take advantage of the views, take advantage of the lot sizes, the setup of the neighborhood. They weren't just trying to plug in any sort of typical cookie cutter style build. They made some for this development in particular. Now, in general, Dry Creek Ranch across the board, you're gonna start in around that mid to high 800s, and things are gonna go up pretty quickly. You're gonna find a ton of homes around that million to 1.2 million range. As you get into the high end, the really large ones, you can get up close to that 2 million range pretty quickly if you're on that high end. Dry Creek Ranch is a big hotspot for people moving from out of state, and a big reason for this is it's set up in that community sort of feel with the community farm. You're gonna have the pools, all of the amenities that we talked about. But when you're out in Dry Creek Ranch, the neighbors really get to know each other. They all have their razors, their side-by-sides. They go around the neighborhood together. Everybody that lives in Dry Creek Ranch just raves about the community, getting to know each other and having, again, that just private community feel that you don't find in every neighborhood around town. And because of this, you kind of have your private oasis in Dry Creek Ranch located just outside of town. So you're a little bit separated from all the hustle and bustle, but you are still 5-10 minutes from kind of off of Eagle and Highway 55. You're gonna have your retail, your commercial, your medical services. The location is really, really good. Now, if you continue into the foothills and go a little bit east from Dry Creek Ranch, we are gonna go to the true independent community that is just a really special place that nobody really talks about. We're gonna talk about Hidden Springs. So Hidden Springs is a true rural master plan community that takes place in the northwestern foothills of Boise. The development itself spans over 1,800 acres, and it's actually surrounding a 130-year-old actual active working farm. Once it's all said and done, it's going to have over 1,000 homes. So again, it is a pretty large community, but Hidden Springs is located and it's kind of tucked into the foothills. So you really don't see Hidden Springs from outside of it, and you can't really see anything else once you're in it. So it really is a very private little community just outside of Boise. And because of this location, they wanted to make sure that they had everything that you needed on a day-to-day basis in there, so you don't have to make the trek into town consistently. You're gonna have a community mercantile shop. You're gonna have your own post office, your own fire station, your own branch of the Boise Library. There's a coffee shop, there's a wine bar. There's actually a Rib Shack barbecue located out towards more of the Cartwright Ranch end of Hidden Springs. In the community itself, you're gonna find a charter preschool as well as an elementary school. You're gonna find a few community pools, and then you're gonna have miles and miles of walking paths, trail systems. Again, you're located in the Boise foothills, so you just have a little bit of that baked in. And then you're also gonna have a community clubhouse. You're gonna have the actual Hidden Springs community barn. This is somewhere that graduation parties always take place. It's a really good spot for events that the neighborhood can use. You're gonna have some great parks, some great playgrounds, but you're gonna have around 800 acres of public open green space. Out of that 1,800 acres that they wanted, they didn't want this to feel like all of the homes were being pushed in as much as possible. So out of that 1,800, about half of it, just a little bit less, was dedicated to that open green space. This really allows this to feel like a nice, small, secluded, small town, but you're also gonna get that love of the nature. You're gonna get the beauty of the Boise foothills. They didn't want this just to turn into a tract home built community. Now, there are gonna be a few different styles of homes here. You're gonna have your smaller zero lot line alley load sort of detached single family homes, all the way up to you're gonna have the view homes on really large lots kind of on the rim in the foothills. Prices are going to start in the entire neighborhood around the high 600s and up. For new construction right now out in the hills in Cartwright Ranch, you're actually going to be around that 1.4 to 1.5 million depending on the size of your home. But overall, Hidden Springs isn't one that people typically bring up before they've heard anything about Boise, and that's a good thing. Once we send people out there and we're like, hey, you should really check this out, it always vaults up people's list. And there's a reason for that. Now, before we get into our third neighborhood, the North End, I just want to remind you, I am a licensed agent up here in the area. So if you have any questions at all about making the move to Boise, all of my information is down below. Shoot me a question. I would absolutely love to help. And if you're learning something or you just like this content, hit that subscribe button down below. That is the best way that I can measure what is actually resonating with you all and what isn't. But let's hop back in and let's talk about one of the most highly sought after areas of Boise, Idaho. We're going to talk about the North End. So as it's in the name, this is going to be the North End of downtown Boise. This is going to be our main urban suburb sort of community. You're going to have a ton of Victorian and craftsman style homes. The character is the name of the game in the North End. You're going to find a lot of homes that have that historical landmark sort of status. As you drive through the North End and you see all of those tree-lined streets, you're really going to see a lot of the homes that still kept that historical, character-driven preservation of that real estate. So even when they're remodeling and making these homes extremely, extremely nice, they're not just tearing everything down, throwing up the next modern masterpiece and calling it a day. They're keeping what made this neighborhood so great, and that's why people kind of flock to it. Now, you are gonna have some newly remodeled homes popping up, but again, they really did try to, even on those newer builds, dive into that character to give that same sense of feel. Because when people are looking for a home in the North End, they're looking for a certain type of home. They're not looking for that very basic, sterile, white on white everything home. Now, one of the best amenities about the North End neighborhood is you are gonna have a ton of walking paths. You're gonna have those tree-lined streets, open spaces, little pocket parks throughout the neighborhood. And then on the north edge of the North End, you're gonna have Camel's Back Park, which is a great big community park with a massive green space, playground, tennis courts, and then you're gonna have an incline going up for exercise, just getting a great view of downtown. But this is also gonna be your gateway into the Hulls Gulch system of trails that's in the Boise foothills. So hopefully you're picking up on a theme. The Boise foothills are a really desirable part of town, so we try to take advantage of it when we're in close proximity. You want to make sure that you're getting access to that natural beauty that Boise has to offer. Back in the neighborhood, there's going to be a little strip right off of 13th Street. This is going to be the little main street of the North End. We're going to talk a little bit about Hyde Park. In Hyde Park, you're going to find some absolutely fabulous restaurants. You're going to find a couple of coffee shops. There's a brewery. There's some little boutique shopping areas. But then you're also going to have Goodies, which is a total old-fashioned kind of ice cream candy soda bar. It's a really good spot to take the kids, get something sweet. It's a nice vibe and experience. Now, one of the things that people really like about the North End is it's a big part of town. It's a really large geographical area. There's a lot of homes, but it is a neighborhood that has that community feel. So you really feel like you're a part of the North End community. And there's a lot of things that create this feeling of community. Every single year, you're gonna have the Hyde Park Street Fair, which is a big farmer's market style market that takes place over a couple of days right on the edge of Camel's Back Park. It's gonna be loaded up with local shops, local goodies. It's a really cool thing to check out, enjoy the weather, but everybody from the North End tends to congregate during that time. You're gonna have a large neighborhood garage sale and a really great little community garden. And when you couple all of this with the prime location that it has, just a couple of blocks out of downtown, one of the things that draws people to the North End is that close proximity and the way that you can really have a more walkable, bike-friendly lifestyle that you just don't get in a lot of areas around our town. Boise and the entire Treasure Valley is very car reliant, but if you're living in the North End, you don't have to be as reliant on your car, which makes things like that community garage sale, getting into Hyde Park for a drink after work. You can do all of this with your bike, with your scooter, with whatever you want to use to get around, and you don't have to just sit in traffic. And a specific street in the North End that I want to highlight because it's one of the only streets that we have here that really draws people to, I want to live on, and we're going to talk about Harrison Boulevard. So Harrison Boulevard is going to run right through the middle of the North End. This is where you're going to find some of the most pretty and gorgeous traditional craftsmen, just absolutely fantastic older homes. All of these are going to be really well done. They've been really well taken care of. So you're going to find that homes on Harrison Boulevard, they have that prestige, but they have that mix of character and updatedness that's going to push the price up into that 1.5 and higher price range. So this really is a part of town that has that luxury connotation. But the street itself has really large mature trees lining the streets as well as right down the center. It's a really cool spot for Christmas lights. It's also a really cool spot to go out and trick or treat at. Harrison Boulevard is just a street that you're going to hear about, and that's part of why it's a really cool street to live on. Now, talking a little bit more about that price range. In the North End, you're basically going to find that even on the smaller end, the older homes, you're going to start in that high 700s because the land of the North End is just so sought after. But the majority of homes here are going to be over that $1 million range. But again, and I'm sure that it's coming through, the North End is one of the most highly sought after places in our entire Treasure Valley. And there's a ton of reasons for it. So check it out. Even if you're not going to live there, make sure you're getting down to Hyde Park, you're getting to Camel's Back Park. It's just one of the best spots around town. Now, let's jump a little bit more southeast and get towards the Barber Valley area of Boise. We're going to talk about Harris Ranch. Harris Ranch is a master plan community that has been decades in the making. It was created by the Harris family. Harris Ranch, that's where it came from. This community is still being developed out. A majority of the big single family residential has been completed, but they're starting to work more on the multifamily, the condo area of Harris Ranch. But the big project still to come is going to be the Harris Ranch Town Community Center. This town center is going to be one of the coolest projects to see develop over the next few years. It is an extensive undertaking, but basically what they're looking for is they want it to be that plaza setup where you're going to have retail, you're going to have restaurants on the ground floor. There's going to be this big open area in the center that isn't going to be for cars. It's going to be for walking and hanging out. The restaurants, they want the patios to kind of come out into that to again have that plaza town square sort of feeling. Up above, you're going to have some more residential condo setups, but you're also going to have commercial offices, office space. They're trying to bring a little bit more of that economy that Boise has to offer into Harris Ranch in particular. This project is still probably a year or two out from really getting going, but they already have it set up. They're gonna have a food hall with all sorts of different local spots kind of in there. They're gonna rotate. There's gonna be those restaurants. There's gonna be a couple more community parks that kind of take place on that edge of the town center. And then of course, parking is a massive, massive thing for these types of undertakings. So they're really putting a focus on making sure there's plenty of parking for people that already live in the neighborhood and those that are coming in just to experience the town center. Getting back to the present day and what's already in Harris Ranch for you to experience, the amenities in Harris Ranch are pretty spectacular. So basically, like every other community that I'm gonna highlight, they really try to take advantage of the natural beauty that this community has to offer. So it is located in Southeast Boise, but you're still gonna have the foothills that come down sort of on the edge of Harris Ranch. You're gonna have some green spaces, you're gonna have some big parks, you're gonna have flower fields, and there are a ton of walking and biking paths throughout the Harris Ranch community. And one of the things that really draws people to this part of town is because the river and the foothills start to get just a little bit closer. In Harris Ranch, you're actually gonna have direct access to the Boise River and the Boise Greenbelt, but you're also gonna have access to the foothills and the entire Ridge to Rivers trail system that runs all the way throughout. Now, as far as places to go out and eat, you're gonna have the Mill District located again right on the kind of southeastern tip of Harris Ranch. There's gonna be some great restaurants here. You're gonna have Coffee Mill, which is a cool coffee shop. Highly recommend Lucky 13. Lemon Tree is a really good sandwich shop. But Lost Shack is a mix of Lost Grove Brewing, one of the best breweries that we have here locally, and then Sushi Shack, which is probably one of my favorite sushis in the area. They kind of combine, so Sushi Shack is in the kitchen. Lost Grove is kind of the bar brewery setup up front. It's a cool place to check out. The food is spectacular. And then when we talk about the location in the broader city, you're gonna be just a few minutes away from the Idaho Shakespeare Festival, which is a summer kind of theater setup. They're gonna have 4 to 5 plays running all throughout the summer months. This is professional theater troupes that come out. There's gonna be the Shakespearean plays. There's gonna be comedies. There's gonna be dramas. It is one of the best attractions that we have, and we try to make it out there at least once a year, if not 2 or 3 times. You're also gonna have the Idaho Botanical Gardens, which has its own concert series running throughout the summer. You're gonna have Barber Park, which has a really large park, community area, kind of clubhouse that you can rent for events, as well as access to that Boise Greenbelt. You're gonna have Warm Springs Golf Course out there. And then for some more restaurants and retail, you're actually gonna have Bound Crossing. When we talk about the real estate in Harris Ranch, as you've been seeing, this is a really large development. So there have been a ton of different types of development that have happened over the years. There's gonna be single family detached, you're gonna have condo buildings, you're gonna have townhomes, you're gonna have larger lots that overlook the Treasure Valley, you're gonna have some smaller ones that really emphasize use the nature all around. Your backyard isn't where you're gonna wanna spend your time. So you really are gonna find that the price points here are gonna vary pretty drastically. On the low end, if you're looking for that initial kind of affordable avenue to get into Harris Ranch, you're gonna wanna look at some of the condos that are being built. They're gonna start in that mid to high 300. You're gonna have a ton of townhomes that are gonna be in the high 600,000s. If you're looking for that traditional single family kind of standard size lot, you're most likely gonna be in the high 700,000s and up. And then when we talk about the luxury, there's gonna be some that are down a little bit closer to the river, as well as Harris North that's up in the foothills, and it has got some of the best views in the entire valley. It is gorgeous. Some of those are gonna be up in that 1.3 million and higher price range. And as we wrap up with our 5th community to highlight, we're gonna stay in Southeast Boise. We're gonna go basically to the entire southeastern tip of Boise, Idaho. we're going to talk about Columbia Village, one of the original master plan communities here in our area. So I want to start by saying homes do not come for sale in Columbia Village very often. We just don't see that there's always 3 or 4 opportunities for you to move into this neighborhood. And when homes come for sale, they go like wildfire. This is a neighborhood that people kind of keep an eye on, whether they're looking to move or not. It is a really desirable place. Now, when we talk master plan community, Columbia Village is exactly that. There are going to be a ton of different phases. There's going to be a lot of community amenities, but they also added some things that just make it more of a self-sustaining place where you have everything that you need right inside. You're going to have the Simplot Sports Complex, which is going to have a lot of those big baseball fields, soccer fields, flag football fields. If you have any kids kind of going through outdoor sports in Boise, you're gonna be playing some games at Simplot. You're also gonna have the Columbia Village Rec Center, which is gonna have a pool. There's gonna be a disc golf course. You're also gonna have a library located in Columbia Village. And Columbia Village is known as one of the most family-friendly neighborhoods here in the Boise, Idaho area. And a big part of that is you actually have a highly rated elementary and high school located in the community itself. And just down the road, a couple of minutes, is a really good middle school. And with where it's located on the edge of kind of the developed portion of Boise, you're gonna have some access to recreational areas here that you just have to drive a little bit farther to get to from some of these other places. You're gonna have Lucky Peak Reservoir and State Park, which is a great spot if you wanna get out on the water, you wanna do some barbecuing, paddle boarding. It's a really cool summer spot. And then you're gonna have the Oregon Trail Reserve, which is a gorgeous nature preserve located right across the street from Columbia Village. Now, when we look at the real estate, there's a few things that draw people to Columbia Village and not to some of these other communities just around our town. A big thing here, again, that family-friendly focus. There are a ton of cul-de-sacs. There are a ton of really quiet streets that kind of end up at a dead end. There are a lot of walking paths. It's very bike-friendly. The sidewalks are really large. You're gonna have a lot of crosswalks. This community is really set up for people to be able to walk, bike. You're sending kids to the elementary school. Let's make sure that it's safe for them. And I've got clients all the time that are looking for that cul-de-sac kind of setup. Columbia Village was made and designed with those in mind. So there are all sorts of little stub streets that pop off kind of the main drag. And when we're looking at price range, you're gonna be in that mid to high 400s and up. So you're gonna have a lot of things that are around that median price point for Boise. You are gonna have some that trickle up into the 800,000-900,000s, but overall, there's gonna be some really good, affordable things in Columbia Village. You just have to be able to see them and hop on them before somebody else scoops it up, okay? Those are 5 of my favorite communities and neighborhoods in the Boise, Idaho area. If you have any questions at all about any of these communities, moving to Boise, whatever it is, if there's a way that I can help, I would absolutely love to. So drop me a message down below. All the information is down there. But until then, I hope you learned something. I hope this was helpful. Watch one of these videos that's popping up, and I'll see you all on the next one.